You're welcome. I want to speak on encryption, and I want to be able to simplify encryption in a way that anybody will be able to understand, regardless of your background in technology or in encryption processes. I will be looking at meaning of encryption, the types of encryption, the objectives of encryption, then the application of encryption in day-to-day life. Now, let's start with the meaning of encryption. What does encryption mean? Encryption is simply a process of converting what we call a plain text to a ciphertext. That is, you convert words that are written in plain language to uh, a gathered form, a nonce form that could not be understood unless you have what we call a key. So you have the encryption key. So the encryption key is like the password. When you want to have access to a system, to an application, you need a password. So with the password, you are giving access. The same thing with encryption. You you want to have access to an encrypted document, you need to have the key. Now, let's talk about the key. The length of the key matters, okay? Because the longer the key, the more secure the encryption, and the shorter the key, the easier it is for an attacker or a crypt analyst to be able to break the encryption code. Now, if the encryption key is long, the encryption system is more secured, but it will take more computing resources to encrypt or decrypt. So which means the system might be slow. If the encryption key is short, okay, the system is less secure, but the encryption process is faster. So you take note of that. Another key feature of encryption is an algorithm. So it's like the mathematical program that enables encryption to work. Okay, so we have different algorithms outside there that have been developed by mathematicians and encryption scientists. And of course, they have various strengths. Some of them have been broken, some of them have proved resilient over the years. So we look at types of encryption. Basically, you have encryption divided into three basic categories. You have private key cryptography, you have public key cryptography, and you have hash function algorithm. Private key cryptography is an encryption system in which the key that is used to encrypt is the same key that is used to decrypt. So if you use a key to lock a document, it is the same key you are going to use to unlock the document. So if I want to send you a message, I encrypt the document with a key, a private with a key, and the key that I use, also called the session key. The session key will now be sent to the receiver to use to decrypt the message, and that is where the challenge is. How do you send the session key in a secure manner? That is the challenge of private key cryptography, but is very fast. Private key cryptography is much faster than public key cryptography, but the challenge is how do you get the key across to the receiver without it being compromised. We also have public key cryptography. So in public key cryptography, we solve the problem of safe distribution of the keys. So we have the sender has a private key and a public key. The receiver has a private key and a public key. So a message encrypted with the private key of the sender can only be decrypted with the public key of the sender. The message encrypted with the private key of the receiver can only be decrypted with the public key of the receiver, and vice versa. So you need to know those principles. So if I encrypt the message with the public key of the receiver, it means only the private key of the receiver can decrypt the message. If I encrypt the message with the public key of the sender, only the private key of the sender can decrypt the message. Those principles are very important. Now, how do we use these keys? It depends on the objectives of the encryption. Now, the objective of encryption are actually four, even though one is one that is very popular that come to mind, that is confidentiality. So confidentiality means I don't want people that are not authorized to have access to my information. So how do I achieve confidentiality? Encrypt the message with the public key of the receiver. The public key of the receiver is already exchanged with the sender. The sender has the public key of the receiver, but the sender does not have the private key of the receiver because only the private key of the receiver is known only to the receiver. So if I want to send you a message that only you can read, I have your public key, I will keep the message with your public key, knowing that only your private key can decrypt the message and your private key is known only to you. So which means I have achieved what? Confidentiality. Okay, that's one. Another objective of encryption is authentication. So authentication means I want to be able to verify the sender. Who is sending me this message? How do I verify the sender? The sender encrypts the message with the private key of the sender. So once the message gets to the receiver has the public key of the sender. So once the public key of the receiver can decrypt the message, it confirms that the sender actually sent that message because there is a match of keys. And this is very important, especially in electronic commerce transactions, where you want to be sure that the sender is actually the one initiating the transaction. Then we have non-repudiation. Non-repudiation means if I initiate a transaction online, I should not be able to deny that I was the one that initiated the transaction. So how do I achieve non-repudiation through encryption? The same way we achieve authentication. The sender encrypts the message with the private key of the sender. That way, non-repudiation objective is achieved. The third objective of the fourth objective of encryption is integrity. You need to be able to confirm that the message has not been altered, right? And this is the third type of encryption that is used to achieve that. You know, I said there's private key cryptography, there is a public key cryptography, then there's hash function. Now, hash function cryptography is not really encryption per se because it is irreversible. You know, for private key and public key cryptography, if you encrypt, you can decrypt. But in hash function cryptography, once you have encrypted, you can't decrypt them because what you actually generate is what is called a hash function. Now, the hash function is like a nonsense function, but it is a digital summary of the message. So, if I send you a message, I will generate a digital mathematical summary, which is called a digest or hash of the message. Now, the idea is this. If the message is altered, the hash will also change automatically. So when the receiver gets the message with the hash sent by the sender. So when the receiver gets the message, he or she will recalculate the hash again, and he will not compare the hash he got. The receiver will compare the hash he got with the hash that was sent by the sender. They have to match. If they are the same, it means the message has not been altered before it got to the receiver. But if the two hashes or digits are different, then it means there's a problem. It means somebody has altered that message because the digital summary of the messages are not the same. Okay, so the sender has a digital summary which is different from the digital summary obtained by the receiver. Then the receiver automatically knows the message has not been altered. He will not be able to determine what has changed, what has been altered in the message, right? That will be confirm maybe when it gets in contact with the sender. Okay, but automatically need one act from that message. This is very important, especially when you start looking at applications of the encryption. Encryption determines who wins wars and who loses wars. If you look at the history of World War, the World War II, especially the last World War II that happened 1939 to 1945, encryption played a great role. The Allies were able to break into Japanese code, they were able to break into German code, and because of that, they were able to read operational plans in advance. And because of that, because you know what the enemy is planning, you are able to take decisions that will win the battle and ultimately the war. And the Americans also they reinforce their own encryption system by bringing in the native Indians, the language of the native Indians that is rarely that is not commonly spoken all over the world. That was the basis that America used to develop their own encryption as their coding system, which made it very difficult to break. So encryption has an application in security, national security. Encryption has application in e-commerce. I've mentioned about authentication and repudiation. All these are used in e-commerce. Okay, even encryption technologies like VPN, virtual private network, which is commonly used now that people are working from home. So you need a system that can tunnel your communications. So you can remotely log in from house, you can remotely log in from anywhere, knowing that your communication with your head office or with your offices are encrypted through encryption technologies. So encryption is very, very important to us now. Giving an example of the military, giving an example of the electronic commerce, even our normal websites. We use we need to have HTTPS, secure hypertext transfer protocol, to ensure that our websites are encrypted so that our personally identifiable information cannot be extracted from websites. That's why you need to have HTTPS instead of just the unsecured HTTP. So in conclusion, encryption, like I said, is basically about making data more secure using encryption algorithm and using encryption keys. So thank you for watching this video. Subscribe to have more videos from me. Thank you.